Welcome to the Local Business Insider Podcast with the Small Business Owners Alliance. This is a space where we sit down with real entrepreneurs and talk about the wins, the lessons, and the honest moments that come with running a business. I'm your host, Nicole Redenbach, small business owner, insurance broker, and founder of the Small Business Owners Alliance here in the Omaha area. Whether you're local to Nebraska or just love learning from real-world business stories, you're in the right place. With us today, we have Lynette Sorrentino, a seasoned entrepreneur with 30 years of experience building businesses, leading teams, and coaching professionals to thrive without burning out. After spending most of her career as a small business owner and a brief time in corporate America, she realized too many high achievers were chasing success at the cost of their health, family, and fulfillment. Today, she speaks and trains audiences on how to design a whole 360 life. One that blends financial growth, purpose, and balance. Lynette, we love that you have so much experience as an entrepreneur yourself and working with other entrepreneurs. What was it that led you into coaching and sharing your message now as a speaker too?
Well, I had about 25, 30 years of experience as an entrepreneur in the direct sales industry and had some wonderful mentors and coaches that really paved the way for me, and I learned a lot from, and I quote their lines quite frequently. When I decided to move into a different role, I took a job in payments, in credit card processing and payments. And as I evolved into that and watched all these business owners and entrepreneurs, all the things that I embodied and why I was in direct sales was exactly the opposite of what they were living. And it made me cry. It made me really, really sad because I saw people on this never-ending hamster wheel of never having enough time, not having enough time for their mental health, their physical health, their families, their relationships, financially. Some of them were doing well, some of them weren't. And it made me really sad. And, a lot of people made pivots and did things differently during COVID. And then I said, this is my opportunity to go and coach and be able to help those business owners. It shouldn't be exclusive just for that direct sales world it's like a personal development in sales in the direct sales world, but who's teaching all the other entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, that's great. I think that's such an important point is that, when you're in a corporate world, you have goals and you have development and you have some projects you may do to kind of help stretch your skills. But as an entrepreneur, when everything's on your plate, making sure you still take the time to intentionally develop and grow your own skills and improve intentionally and not just put out fires along the way. So that's great. What would you say helps you kind of stand out from others in your space and differentiates you?
I'm authentic to a fault. I'm real. I'm not afraid to share my own stories, not only the successes, but the really difficult challenges. I'm pretty direct and blunt. Yeah. But I'm also really good at pulling out analogies that can relate. They can specifically relate to their business or their industries. So if I can put it in a world or in a language that they can understand, and let's be real, this is a time where my age is benefiting me. Yes. And all those years of experience having lived it all, it's not because I went and took a class, because I got a certification. No, this is all real life stuff that I've lived, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that I can then help and pull that out of my toolbox and be able to help them.
That's great. Yeah, that goes a long way. And I think you're right. Having those years of experience and seeing so many different things has really given you the upper hand to taking it off of just a training or a certification and a class and helping people implement it. And those stories, the way that you relate to people, sometimes we can all read the same thing, but you almost sometimes need somebody to explain it at a different angle for it to click and make sense. So.
And I think I looked at also, when I've done the Gallup Strengths thing, I'm very much about individualistic or individualism. So where that comes from, there's something in my DNA that I know how to pull those things out to that person specifically and what they might need. I can't do cookie cutter. I don't do curriculums well. I have to be one-on-one or create something for a group, customize it. So that probably draws some of that uniqueness out too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's a great approach because even if you're working with two people who are in the same industry or, of similar backgrounds, they're still going to have their own learning styles. They're going to have their own perspective and experiences. And
work at their own pace. So you've got to really kind of customize it. So that's great. I know you're really active in the networking community. You've been involved in our network with the Small Business Owners Alliance, but lots of other networks in Lincoln and in Omaha and around the area. What would you say has kind of been the biggest impact that networking has had on your career as an entrepreneur?
The biggest impact is I wouldn't be here.
That's a great point. I love that.
So for example, when I got into payments, when I was in my direct sales world, I was business to consumer. So the way that I would market and grow my customer base and grow my team was different than when I moved into payments, which is business to business. Yeah. I did not have a business to business network. So the first 2 years, I did nothing but just pound doors, cold call, just work hard until I burned myself out. Then I got involved in networking. And I did some tracking. The year I got involved in networking, 60% of my business came from referrals.
Wow, that's impressive.
That number's, and now almost exclusively all of my business comes from referrals or from a contact I've made over the last 10 to 11 years. So like I said, I wouldn't be here without networking.
That's great. And I think that you bring up a great point too, is that the importance of tracking where your leads are coming from so that you can make data-driven, informed decisions. And it's, yes, we got to trust our gut sometimes and do what feels right, but knowing that you've got the data behind it to help justify it makes a whole difference. So you've met a lot of different business owners in varying industries and all across the board, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
What would you say is kind of the main challenge you see business owners face, really kind of no matter the industry? Is there any trends that you've noticed?
Oh boy, I think in the last 5 to 10 years, there's been a big shift where more and more people are becoming entrepreneurs. Particularly during COVID, there was the Great Resignation. Yeah. And, we're experiencing layoffs now. So more and more people are becoming business owners. I think the other piece of it is that we have a generation that's come into, has become of age, where they're looking for jobs and they're looking for opportunities, and that's what I've noticed that's changed, but at the same time, there's become kind of a clash, or there's become some difficulties. When you start a business, first of all, is there a need for it? You may be really good at it. It might be something you love, but is there a need for it?
Yeah, that's important.
But all those businesses, even if they're a seasoned business, they look at, there's an element of a lot of planning and preparation and delegation that needs to come into play. And if your business doesn't have some semblance of organization, et cetera, and you look like you're a hot mess, those young people are not going to want to come to work for you because they don't like the culture. They don't like, and if you're not going to put a priority on, because they are like, I don't want to be like my boomer parents or my or my grandparents or whatever. They want to have some freedom and flexibility, and they want to be able to go and give.
Yeah.
So they're looking for something like that, that if grandma's sick, and I'm the same way, if my mom's sick, or if I've got a family member or an issue, I want to be able to take off. And a business that recognizes that, they're going to keep their employees, because I can't keep people.
Yeah.
So are you creating an environment where people want to stay?
Yeah.
And on the other side, young people, you can't demand a high salary if you haven't earned it. You have to earn your position. You have to earn what is there. You can't just go and demand and say, yes, you need to be able to pay your bills. Yeah. But at the same time, you can't just go demand this. And you have to work for it. It's not hustle and grind. It's not, you have to go earn it and work for it, because that's how you get experience. That's how you learn things. That's how you develop. You cannot go be an NFL quarterback if you weren't playing back when you were in high school or junior high. You have to earn all of that. But people think, well, I want to be an athlete, or I want to be an influencer. I want to do all this. They don't understand. Maybe it's a musician. Even when I started doing coaching or now going into public speaking, I got to do my reps.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen immediately. It's not going to happen just because I want it to. It never happens as fast as you want it to.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to put in the time. And I think there's so much changing where that time doesn't always equate to just going and getting a 4-year degree anymore. I think
Correct.
Long gone are the days where that's a necessity for most professional roles. Not saying you don't still need it for some things, absolutely, but I think people are getting a lot more creative with how are they getting that experience, whether it's from a business they may own or certifications and courses online.
Yeah.
And you know, another thing I want to point out, you touched on turnover and really how important it is for business owners, you know, to become more than just an entrepreneur, but to actually own a business that you can be able to step out of and it still runs.
Isn't that the point?
That's the point.
Isn't that the point?
Exactly. You've got to have other people doing it there for you. And you're right. If you don't create a culture that people are confident and empowered and treated well in, you're not going to maintain the top talent.
No, they don't want to be a number.
Yeah.
They want to be seen.
Yeah.
They want to be seen as a person and a human being. And when someone says, what are your goals? Don't just fit in with my company goals. What are your goals? And what is your vision for your life? I was talking to a contractor last week, and we were talking about one of the people on his team. And he says, I really could see him with some leadership qualities. And I said, the best thing you can do is embrace that and bring him alongside and teach him. Because if you don't, he's going to go work for someone else that lets him do that, or else he's going to start his own gig.
Yeah.
So the more you can empower those people and let them know there is a place for you. Don't just put an ad in, advancement opportunities available. What does that look like?
Yeah.
Because people will leave for another opportunity if you don't create that environment where they're seen and where there's an opportunity to grow.
You got to be a lot more than just providing a paycheck.
Absolutely. And that's, if you look at the companies that do not have turnover, it's because they're running it like a business. They're treating their people well.
That's great. Yep, that very valuable insight for sure. What do you think is something that business owners can use to try to overcome some of those challenges as far as, you know, it's one thing to say, okay, create a culture that people want to be in, create opportunities for people to develop, but what's something tactical, specific that they could kind of take that first step to working towards that?
Catch them doing something right instead of something wrong.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Just pay attention to your people. You know, I noticed you did a really good job. I noticed the way you treated your customer. I noticed, you know, you went above and beyond. I noticed that you're paying attention. Compliments. Because think about, I mean, you know, think about your kids. If you give them a compliment, they're going to go, yeah, okay, I want to do more of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a human being thing. That's not a kid thing. So if you start paying attention to your employees, they're going to rise to the occasion, and then quit being a control freak. So many entrepreneurs, nobody can do it better than me.
Right.
I don't want, you know, they don't want, there's probably someone who can do it way better than you.
Yep.
And what is it costing you to not delegate? What are you stifling with your scaling and your growth because you won't let go of this thing? There could be someone who's doing it better.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to let go and recognize they're going to make a mistake. But how do we raise our kids?
Yeah.
They make mistakes.
They've got to.
And then you take that as a learning opportunity. Because if you always just try to do it all yourself, you're boxing yourself into being a forever glorified employee of your own business.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, a lot of people start their own business because they want that freedom. They want that flexibility. They don't want to have to ask for PTO 6 months in advance and still get denied. Right. But when you don't set it up as a business in the right way, you're really trapping yourself even more than you were in corporate glued to your phone and your computer. So, that's great. One quote that we've heard you share over time is grinding is only for coffee beans. I love that. Grinding is only for coffee beans. What does that mean in real life and actually implementing that? How can our listeners apply that philosophy?
Well, first of all, I think there's two things I think about with that.
Actually, sorry to interrupt. Would you mind saying that and then lead into it?
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry.
So grinding is only for coffee beans. I think there's two ways to look at that. One, if you're talking, you know, like we're recording this on a Sunday, and if you're sitting there on Sunday saying, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, if you say, I have to go to the grind, go find a different job.
Yeah.
Life is too short. We've witnessed too many people dying too early in life for whatever reason. to not be enjoying your life every single day. That's the grind part. I think the other part of that is the word that comes with that is just hustle and grind, hustle. And I was having a conversation with my own coach a few weeks ago, and she said, yeah, but sometimes hustle isn't bad. You know, I've always been ambitious, and if I hadn't had some hustle, I wouldn't be where I am. And it gave me a pause. And I really identified it in a couple of ways. There's such a thing as healthy hustle and unhealthy hustle. Hustle is good. That shows you're ambitious, you've got work ethic, you're willing to go, and then sometimes for whatever it takes, whether you're an employee or you're the business owner. That's healthy hustle. The unhealthy hustle is when you're working from such a place of fear that you sacrifice everything for the hustle of the business. And usually it's fear-based. But what does it cost you? It costs you your mental health. We hear about that all the time now.
Yeah.
It costs you your physical health. What is it costing you in your relationships? What is it costing you with your spouse? What is it costing you with your relationship with your kids? You know, that you don't experience so many memories from them. And then, you know, we baby boomers messed up big time because we're all about the hard work. And then the kids don't want to take over the business because they don't want to have to work that hard. There's a way to balance it.
Yeah.
There's a way to balance it, but you have to take a step back and look at it and say, well, what's the price I'm paying?
You know, I think that's so impactful, and I really hope that people sit with that for a second and really let that resonate, because I don't know a business owner personally in all the networking that we do that hasn't made sacrifices that they're not always proud of, you know?
Yeah.
That, again, we started the business to have that flexibility, but there's times where sometimes work has to come first, and, you know, you miss a game or you miss that practice or that important moment, or too busy on your cell phone, not paying attention to what's going on around you. And I think really being able to intentionally create a situation where you can detach from work sometimes,
Yeah.
Whether that's your own business or not.
Well, there's a saying that goes, your calendar reflects your values. So the whole reason I got into direct sales and became an entrepreneur was because family was most important. I wanted to be like a stay-at-home mom and still have a successful career. I knew I could not be a stay-at-home mom and have everybody live to tell about it through adulthood. So I'm not designed that way.
Me too.
I'm not designed that way. But what I would do is I would take my kids' schedule, I would take the important things, put those in my calendar first. Then I worked around it as a business owner. So sometimes that meant doing something at 9 o'clock at night, because I wanted from 3 to dinner time or whatever with my kids. So you can design it.
Yeah.
The other thing is communication with your family. If they know that you need to work some extra time because you're going to be able to go on vacation, if they're enrolled in that whole goal, you know, I would, you know, when I was earning my pink Cadillacs, if the family knew that this was the goal and this is what we were doing, they would go like, yeah, Mom, go, because we get to do this.
Yeah.
So it's enrolling the family in the goal as opposed to just going to work and coming home and then the family becomes resentful. So you're sometimes having to do the same thing, but it's how you approach it and the communication that comes with it.
I think that's a great point. And I think, too, making sure that the family is invested in that goal, too.
Yeah.
Not just that they know about it, but that they feel like they have some tangible say in that as well. That's huge. You know, we've heard a lot in the last few years, especially since COVID, about having a side hustle. And I know you talked a little bit about that word hustle, and I just want to go back to that for a second, because I think so many people feel like it's not just enough anymore to have their regular day job, but that you've always got to be hustling. You've got to have some other way to bring in another revenue stream or some other kind of money. What's your take on it that way? You know, that you always have to keep money coming in at different angles and be busy in that side hustle.
Wow, there's a lot of thoughts I have around that one. I think my first thought is that side hustle sustainable? Is it sustainable from your schedule? Is it sustainable mentally? Sometimes we can be doing something in our job and the side hustle is very far removed over here.
Yep.
Perhaps that side hustle can be complementary so it works and it works and dances and is in tandem together. So that's one of the things I think about with that side hustle. Is it sustainable? For example, one of my good friends here in Omaha, she would go bartend and work at CHI at the concession stands and stuff like that because that was the extra money for her daughter to go on all the dance trips and conventions that they went to.
Yep.
So there was, what is the goal? Why are you doing the side hustle?
Yep.
Is it sustainable? Why are you doing it? Is it a long-term thing? Evaluate that. Is it a side hustle that you want to build into a full-time career?
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when I love to cook. I love to bake. And I made my daughter's wedding cake a year and a half ago. And she goes, Mom, you just do such a good job. Why don't you start a side business? And I said, because I don't want to bake cakes on demand. I want to do it for joy.
Yeah. That's so important too. Yeah, especially when it comes to anything that is crafty or has any kind of artistic component or creative component to it.
Yeah.
That once you start doing it for other people by an order, it sometimes can just zap the joy out of it. And now it becomes work and not a fun hobby that you used to have.
Correct. Yep. So that was my take. I also have a former boss and mentor who has a cookie business, and it's been her side hustle for a lot of years. But for her, because of the way she's designed it, it's her mental health break. It's her mental release.
Yep. That's great.
So you have to, it's not just, I need to go do this. You have to take a step back and say, okay, what's my intention with this? What's my purpose? Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. If it's just for extra income, I don't know. Maybe there's other opportunities out there to reevaluate. Mm-hmm. Because I think the other thing that happens is too many times people make decisions and the only factor in the decision is money. And what if you took money off the table, then what would be the decision over here?
Yep. That's a good point. And I think too, sometimes those side hustles that sound like maybe a good idea or way to bring in money, if you don't have a solid plan behind it or why, then oftentimes they can be just as much of a financial drain than, versus bringing in the extra income you were hoping. So it's a good point for sure. And if somebody does have a side hustle because they want to make it a long-term career, how do you help kind of coach people to understand when it's time to take that jump and when it's time to maybe, okay, now it's okay to quit that full-time job and give it your all and go for it?
I was just having that conversation last week with someone who's looking at moving into his own physical therapy practice versus what he's doing right now with another group.
Okay.
And I also look back when I left my full-time job and decided to pursue Mary Kay full-time, I just looked at it and I jumped. And I probably shouldn't have because I jumped too soon. So I think the first thing is know your numbers.
Yeah.
What is the revenue that you are generating from your side hustle right now? A lot of times people don't think about what it costs to work, and I think this is a little bit more for women, but in general, what is it costing me to work right now? Because there are a lot of people, when they figure their daycare costs and their expenses for the full-time job, they're making less than minimum wage. So if you factor all of those expenses in that you could eliminate by working the side hustle, then all this, and then then the other question would be, am I having to turn away business?
Yeah.
Like in his example, if you're needing physical therapy, you don't want to wait 2 weeks to see a physical therapist. You need it now.
Yeah.
So if you're turning away that and having to push it off or turn it away, then it's maybe time to make a move because the business is growing enough that there's enough demand that it could replace that.
Yeah. That's a great point. And I think, there's so many factors to look into, and it depends on your industry, your family situation, where you are in that. So, I think that's a good point. And turning away business, but also I think sometimes business owners jump in and don't realize all the overhead that expanding may cost you too.
That's the other thing. People just say, well, I'm just going to start my own business. And they don't even know what they don't know. And they don't know the questions to ask. It just seems like and they jump in and start swimming, and then they realize they're really, really over their head.
And some people make it through that. And, it's not to say that you can't survive that. But yeah, sometimes there's a good balance of the right amount of planning ahead of time. And you don't want to let that, freeze you from ever taking that leap forward.
Right.
There's a balance. But
I think and I think it comes down to this. You need to look at it intellectually. You need to look at all of your options. But you can also get into paralysis by analysis by doing that.
Yep.
So then I've just learned over my lifetime, what's my gut tell me? What's my intuition tell me? Every time I follow my intuition, it's right. When I don't, usually doesn't work out quite so well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think, a lot of people, whether they're just starting out, taking that side hustle to a full-time business, or maybe they've been in it for a while, they kind of forget about how important it is in investing in their own personal development. And whether that's coaching or seminars or events that they might attend, courses they might do online, it's still very beneficial. How do they kind of make that decision when resources are limited, time and money are maybe limited? How do you convince people to still invest in themselves, and what the benefits might be if they do?
Wow, lots of ways to dive in on that one. I think first of all, you have to go into the business that you have to make investments of money and investments in time. You're not going to grow and build a business unless you have that investment mindset. There's a difference between investing in yourself and investing in your business than going into debt, which is going and just putting money on a credit card just because you want it. That's a big difference. Okay. Whenever I was at a crossroads in my career, almost every single time I was at a plateau, just like when we're dieting, right? We're at a plateau. We got to change something.
Yeah.
I had to invest in someone to get me to the next level. Every single time. And almost every single time, I didn't have the money. But if I didn't invest myself, I was going to stay at that place. Because we have skill sets we need to learn. We have limiting beliefs that we maybe are blocking us from growing where we need to be. There's just so many things that are out there. And it's first of all identifying I need clarity here. What is it that I'm missing, and what is it that I need to learn as my next step? Then where do I go to find that? It might be something at a community college. It might be someone that's willing to mentor you that's in the same industry. There's a variety of free things and free resources that are out there. I got on a lot of free podcasts and free this and free that, and oh my gosh, I did a lot of that. On some level, I learned a lot, but on some level, I confused myself.
Yeah.
So I also learned that if I hired that one-on-one coach who was really going to work with me individually, they could take me down that path. And I was reflecting the other day about there's been two different businesses that I started that there was already a system in place. One was direct sales. Here's the business model. I could go and duplicate that business model. Think about franchises. Here's the business model. Go duplicate that, okay? You have a mentor or a coach that can show you how to do that. Whether you're in direct sales, whether you're starting, a franchise, you got to pay for that. Hiring a coach, you got to pay for that. You go out there on your own and just try to figure it out as you go. It's going to cost you probably a whole lot more than if you would have invested in that person who could have gotten you there just like that.
That's a great point. And I think that as a chronic DIYer myself, I kind of always tend to have this headspace of, I can figure that out. I can do that. But there's a certain point where you invest so much time in trying to find the free resources and trying to learn the skills yourself that what is your time worth?
People don't value their time.
Yeah. How long did you delay making that sale or taking that next step because you were trying to do it yourself? And what was the opportunity cost? And all of a sudden that $500,000, even $5,000 investment doesn't seem so expensive when you look at how much time you spent getting there.
When we don't question when colleges say, well, you need to invest this much in your college education, we just think we're supposed to go invest tens of thousands and be in debt forever. We don't second guess that, but then we're wondering why we should be paying for a coach or a person who's been there, done that, when most of the stuff you learn as a business owner isn't taught in college.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's only so much you can get out of a textbook. So if somebody decided that they were ready to invest in themselves and they wanted to work with you and engage you in coaching, or maybe somebody realized that, hey, having you as a speaker for an event they're doing might make sense, what's the best way for them to kind of reach out and get started with you?
They could certainly reach out to me. Probably the easiest way is to my website, which is chaos2boss.com. I've got a contact page there, and it's designed for them to be able to identify what they're looking out for. They can also find me on Facebook. I have a personal page. I have a Lynette Sorrentino speaker page, and also a Chaos to Boss business page, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm everywhere because I want to be able to be visible. So any way you want to reach out to me, I check all those things. I made a big decision earlier this year to hire an executive assistant because there were so many things that I knew that needed to be done in my business. And I'm a visionary. I'm a person to go out there and I know what needs to happen, but I'm not the implementer. I'm not the executor.
Yep.
I'm not the executioner, whatever you want to call it. Right? I'm not the executor. So she's done a really great job of, you put my name in there or Chaos to Boss, you're going to be able to find me almost any way that is your preferred platform.
That's great. Yeah, and we'll make sure that we link all that in the show notes as well. And so let's say they reach out to you and they're ready to learn more. Do you have like a consultation that you go through with people first, or what's kind of that first step once they have made connection to getting working with you?
Absolutely. It's all about the consultation because it's kind of like dating. You need to make sure if it's a good fit. Am I a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for me? Is this what are you looking for? Am I the best person for that? There are a lot of business coaches in Lincoln and Omaha. And just like doctors, we all have a specialty. We all have a strength.
Yep.
So one of my, consultations, all of those are for free. And then we look at, do we need group coaching? Do we need one-on-one coaching? Do you need public speaking? Do you need me to come in and then do a workshop, a 2-hour or 4-hour all-day workshop? It's really about customizing what is it that you're looking for. And then I come back and say, this is what I would recommend and how I could best help you out.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, and really appreciate you being here. Want to encourage everybody, like Lynette said, she's everywhere on your preferred social platform. So if you're not already following her, please do so. Would love that support. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video as well. Thanks again, Lynette, for being here. We appreciate it very much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.